I had that blocker, like you need to have a job so you can have insurance and a 401k and the stability.
And security. Don't forget the security. That's what we were raised with.
That's it. And the minute that I fought that demon and said, okay, let's go through this. I don't have another choice. Let's just go do it. I put my head down and I realized I've never let myself down.
What would you do if your job disappeared tomorrow? After 6 years at Ticketmaster, that's what happened to Rachel Minion. She was suddenly furloughed during the pandemic. At the same time, her husband had just been laid off, and there was no backup plan. But Rachel had something that many of you have, or are wanting to have. A side hustle with a small handful of clients. So she made a decision. She called those clients and told them that she was now available full-time. She shares that since then, her marketing agency is now generating about $560,000 a year. Rachel also tells us how she made the leap from side hustle to full-time business, how she turns expertise into offers that clients will pay for, and why marketing your own business can feel harder than, well, marketing somebody else's. I'm Joan Posavy, and this is Side Hustle Hero. Well, welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you were the director of marketing at Ticketmaster. COVID hit and you were furloughed. And now, for those not familiar with the term, you were placed on temporary unpaid leave. Is that right?
Unpaid.
Unpaid.
Yeah. Effective immediately.
Oh, gosh. Immediately. And with the expectation, of course, that you would return once the pandemic was over. What was your reaction when you got that news, when you were furloughed?
It didn't make sense because a couple weeks before that, we were on the phone with Pharrell and he told us how incredible the world was and how he thinks. And it was this insightful hour-long town hall. It was unbelievable. And then after that, we had Garth Brooks on the line who was telling us how he works and how incredible we are and that he can't do anything without us. And the next Zoom furloughed 80% of staff effective immediately in the most impersonal way ever because some of the staff had one invite, some of the staff had another. And it became this weird moment of, hey, which one are you on? Because we didn't know.
Wow.
We didn't know if we're furloughed or none of our coworkers are. And how does that work?
Yeah.
And so there's a level of initial panic when you hear, okay, effective immediately, sorry. Even though we're coming to you from our brand new studio on the lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We spent billions of dollars on this new office, but you're furloughed.
And how long were you with Ticketmaster at that point?
About 6 years.
Okay.
You can imagine, I've had the side hustle for a long time. I've had it for a decade before this. And when this hit, this was the kick that I needed. I was thinking, do I shut down the side hustle? Because I'm traveling from Chicago to LA and Chicago to San Francisco every other week. I was never home. It was really hard to try to keep it all going, but I did. So do I shut it down? Do I not? The decision was made for me. It was shut down the full time. And now my side hustle is my full time, effective immediately, and let's go. And every single client followed. Every single client had so much work that they needed to have done that they were just waiting on me to make time for, that I was so lucky. I fell into a full-time gig immediately.
And how did that feel initially?
Scary as anything.
Even with all the clients lined up.
It's scary because there's a moment in time where even growing up, my family's all entrepreneur. They all run their own businesses. And I didn't know that I could do this. I had that blocker, like you need to have a job so you can have insurance and a 401k and the stability.
And security. Don't forget the security. That's what we were raised with.
That's it. And the minute that I fought that demon and said, okay, let's go through this. I don't have another choice. Let's just go do it. Put my head down and I realized I've never let myself down.
Oh, wow.
None of us have ever let ourselves down. So why would I let myself down in business? It doesn't make sense, right? That was the biggest fear that I had. And there was nothing to it.
What was the size of your agency back then?
It was just me and I had 6 clients. I had to keep it because I was making enough money at Ticketmaster and my husband made enough money. I had to keep my revenue to nothing because anything I made, basically, I had to pay in taxes. So I started maybe at 5 or 10K a year because that was the limit that we could get to.
Got it.
And My first year out, I believe we had 30K in billing.
Wow.
And that was only from April till December without
Wow. So
any
that
ramp
wasn't even full
time.
year. Yeah.
No, without any ramp up time, without anything. And mind you, the beginning of the year, I wasn't really doing much because I was still traveling and doing things. And then I got COVID. And starting in April, that was really when the world changed for me.
With the very full-time job that you had at Ticketmaster and all the travel, why did you start a side hustle in the first place?
I had the side hustle a decade before.
Okay.
And what was interesting to me, my family's business, I was running it with them for a decade. And with the recession in 2010, we were forced to shut down. We were printers. And back then, being a woman in printing who worked for her parents, no one believed I had a skill set.
Yeah.
So I started a side hustle to prove that not only I had a skill set, but I could grow it and that I could do all these incredible things and that I can keep growing in ways that excite me. So I can go test, what do I like about building websites? What do I like about marketing? What do I like about any of these different facets and be able to bring that in, teach myself it, and then get the data to grow it.
So that was the type of activities, tasks that you were doing within the printing business.
So within the printing business, believe it or not,
Or you were the printer?
so I was in charge of estimating. So I created our estimating systems. I brought in the technology to do that. I programmed the technology. And we didn't really market our business. Marketing wasn't a thing. I could go run production and I was doing that, making sure everything got through to billing, making sure in the end, I was doing about 400 estimates a day and 100 jobs turned every single day and got out the door.
100 jobs a day?
100 jobs a day. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was crazy. And so there was no room for marketing with that. But because we were doing all these things and technology was always at the forefront, which I think in most companies it should be, like that's what really propelled well, hey, if I could do that, I could do this.
So what made you jump over to Ticketmaster?
I only intended that the side hustle would just be a side hustle that I could use to grow, that I could use it to scale, but I didn't have faith that I could do anything myself. And so I started working at other corporate jobs. I started working at a marketing testing company in Florida. I then went to go work for a software company. And then I ended up with what I thought was my dream job at Ticketmaster.
Sure.
My first year, if you can't see behind me, I am full of guitars because I am the biggest live music fan. And my first year at Ticketmaster, we saw 275 different artists.
Oh.
And for a person like me, that is everything. I don't care what genre it is. I will go see a live show every single night if that's possible. And they enabled that for me. And that's where I was like, wow, do I need the side hustle anymore? I really love this access.
Sure. So you could do both.
That was it. So I kept both for a while. And, what was really hard about it is when you have a side hustle, you have to think, how am I going to bring on new clients? What am I going to do? How am I going to balance that with everything else I'm doing? Where am I going to fit in the workload? And it's okay if I have to work all weekend.
That's a huge question. So how did you answer that? What was your strategy?
I just worked all the time.
Okay.
my job was really more than full time. And on my weekends, that's where I would understand what my clients needed. And on my lunch break, I would take some calls so I could understand what the strategy needed to be. And then I go fulfill everything on the weekends and try to just set calls during, okay, I have 15 minutes for lunch. Let's talk about this now.
So very organized, or at least you grew into that role.
It was organized chaos.
So fast forward, you're in that Zoom call, you realize you've been furloughed. Knowing that you had to make this side hustle now grow into your full time, what were your first steps? What did you start doing that was new or changes that you made to create that momentum?
Let me give you a little bit more context about what was happening at that time on top of it. The week before, my husband was laid off.
Oh man, double whammy.
2 days before that, we realized nobody's ever sold a house in a pandemic before. Why don't we? So the house was for sale. The day before, we just got a contract on our house. So my husband doesn't have a job.
Right.
I now don't have a job. There's no formal employment. We can't go do a rental anywhere else. The house is ready to be sold. It's under contract. And what do you do? So first thing I did was call every single client and got my nonsense together. Hey, we're full-time. Here we go. Here's what my schedule is going to be. Here's how I'm doing this. Let's take all these projects I've been putting off, going to fix your website, going to do this, going to make these updates, email campaigns, all of it. Let's do it. And I'm full-time effective now. You can
count on me.
You can count on me. Email's already set up because it's been set up for a decade. My phone is the same phone. There's no question as to what's coming. But the other thing that I did while I was making all this happen is figure out, okay, where are we going to live? And we decided we were going to Airbnb around the country. Turns out the whole world was closed, so we couldn't.
No.
So there's only one place that's open. So we spent the pandemic slumming it on a beach in Florida. It was just terrible.
You poor thing.
It was horrible. And so not only did I love the challenge of this and building this, I also built a nonprofit at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have enough to do. In all your spare time, you create a nonprofit.
I am really good at making more work for me. So not only did I start growing this, and now I'm up to 40, 50 hours a week. Now I've also created a nonprofit that I'm trying to create chemo care kits for cancer warriors across the US. Wow. And how do we do that? And it still was a weird moment of almost two side hustles that were pushing forward at the same time. And everything that's really happened with my business as I grow it and the nonprofit grows at exactly the same time.
Right.
So when you get to the next step, like we've changed the model completely for my business because I wanted to be able to bring on a team. I wanted to change what I offer. I wanted to be able to niche down. I want to be able to do things that I know I'm really good at and say no to everything else. And the nonprofit, I've now changed the entire model. We've changed how we do delivery. We've changed everything humanly possible, like basically all at the same time. And it's so weird that it's in tandem.
Yes. Is there any connection between Rockstar and Moon, which is your agency, and the cancer kits?
No. So Beyond Basic Needs was created because when I was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago, my coworkers, my family, my friends stopped calling. It wasn't because they hated me. It wasn't because of anything else. But when you've never dealt with cancer before, you think you're doing the right thing by giving somebody space to heal, by giving them that room and by doing right. Okay. Seems like it's the right thing to do. But when you're on a cancer journey, all you want to do is hear how crappy the Kardashians are or what's happening with the housewife in Miami or any of those horrible things or dad jokes or something, just so you don't feel like you've lost touch with reality because your entire reality is now focused around doctors and cancer and nothing else.
Yeah.
So that's where I had the space in my life that I could create the nonprofit. And what we do for Rockstar Moon is we give a percentage of profits over to Beyond Basic Needs. Everything's somewhat related.
You really had to ramp it up to do your agency full time. How did you know that you could do it? Or maybe you didn't know.
If you asked me a decade ago, would I ever be able to do this? The answer was no. And it happened so abruptly. And it was that pattern interrupt that I think I needed because it wasn't, oh, do I want to do this or not? No, you have to do this. Go.
Yeah.
And
it's like you landed on the beach. You literally did. You landed on the beach. The ships were burned. There was only going forward. That was your only option.
That's it. And it's like, okay, how do we make this an experience that doesn't suck, is a hell of a lot of fun, and really, in the end, can define more of who I feel like I am so I can be more authentic with it.
What was the most effective thing you did in attracting more clients?
I think the biggest key was knowing what it is I do well and putting numbers to it. Because the minute that I sat down and said, okay, so for consultants, in the first year they work with me, they typically double their revenue and they don't have to add an additional person. That's huge.
And why is that? What are they doing differently?
Well, we've changed, in most cases, their entire marketing, how they go out to market, their authority, how do they position themselves? How are we running campaigns? What are we running? Are we bringing in the right pieces of authority into these things? And on top of that, how do we automate the heck out of everything that we do? Because my God, there's so much admin work in the world that nobody needs to do again.
Yes. So it sounds almost two-pronged. One is automating a lot of those admin procedures, but also having your clients see their value. So they're increasing their rates essentially.
What's odd to me, and it sounds really funny, but marketing your own business sucks. It sucks. There's no word like you are just in the suck when you have to go market your business. And so having an outsider who's independent say, hey, I know you think you do this, but your clients believe you do this.
Right.
How do
Yes.
we bridge that gap so we can get from A to B? And that's really where repositioning, rethinking of what your business is and how you get a really great outcome for your client. And as long as you keep your client as the hero of that story,
yeah,
it attracts the next client and the next client and the next client.
And even with marketing being your superpower, that still has to be a challenge for you because you're in it, like in terms of putting that same lens on your business now.
Oh, yeah. Marketing my business sucks.
Yep.
And I am a marketer. Like it is the worst thing. In the beginning, I didn't want to talk about myself, especially when it's a side hustle. You don't want to talk about yourself ever. You don't want to talk about your achievements. You feel like it's bragging. You don't want to talk about that big win, right? We just got an ad running and in 12 hours, you just got your biggest client ever. I'm not going to say that. Why? I don't know. It's a weird block that we have, especially when it's a side hustle, because we're also not ready to tell the world that we do this because we have the main gig, right?
Right.
And we're like, we don't want the main gig to really find out, right? Because now they're thinking we're doing this on the company hours and it's that weird shuffle. And so learning how to change the narrative, learning how to make it not feel icky.
Okay.
Well, it's huge.
I was going to ask you, at the time, did Ticketmaster know that you had a side hustle on the side? Did you have that conversation with them?
Yes. When I was interviewing, they absolutely knew. I made sure that it was very clear. I didn't want them to think I'm trying to steal a client because my business name is Rockstar and Moon. I am not stealing your clients. I'm not interested. I'm not offering them marketing services. I am drawing a very firm line. They can't get anything from me. And they said, okay. But the funny story about when I got hired at Ticketmaster, I was hired for product marketing. My third day at work, I ended up running marketing for that division. Right. Not only was I running product marketing, but then I had B2B, B2C, B2B2C. I had email, I had websites, I had everything you can possibly imagine. And that's what I owned. It wasn't the job I interviewed for, it just was the job I walked into because I could do all of this.
Huh. So you were honing your skills there too, which of course was going to help you big time for your side hustle.
That and what I realized is my superpower at work is phenomenal, right? I can go jump to all these different things and we can go get results and I can test it at a really big scale and then take that really high level strategy with all the bells and whistles and now go apply it to a small business.
Yes.
And go watch them blow up.
I'm really curious. How do you go about pricing your jobs? Because it's not like you're selling an apple, you're buying it for this price and mark it up and then resell it. How does that work in your world?
So previously, I was basically trading time for money. So I just charge you an hourly rate. I will tell you where I stand on hours. You tell me if we keep going. You tell me where we stop and really put it in somebody else's hands. And now we've changed it so that we have options that you can have the retainer model where we work with you to go get results. We also have a program called the Profit Multiplier and we have a DIY AI version of it where you come into the program, you pay the flat fee, and then you work your way through that. You get some sessions with me on strategy, and then you go implement the heck out of it. So that has that fixed price rate. We've tried to productize it because all the things that I was doing for the larger consultancies,
right?
A person with a side hustle, a person with just a small starting up business where they're a solopreneur, they may not need 5 clients a month. They don't want it. That would kill them. They need maybe 1 to 2 right fit clients. So that's what we built for them.
Oh, nice. And so do you have contractors that you work with you now? You're not still doing it all yourself, are you? As far as the client work? No. Okay.
Thank God. Now I was able to expand and grow my business and bringing on somebody to do the work is really hard. It's probably one of the biggest struggles ever, because where do you want to let go? I don't ever want to create this again. But am I going to be able to get somebody in who can create it at the same level as me?
Yeah.
And that my clients, no matter, aren't going to notice a massive difference, even with all the training in the world that I can do. And we have the SOPs and the checklists and all those things. And we replicate these things for me. And we grew the team and we grew the team and we grew the team. And then I had a longtime team member who was with me for 3 years, and she gave her notice in June. And I was like, that's a lot of institutional knowledge that's not documented.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And I didn't want to do project management again. It was just not anything I wanted to handle. And what's really funny, my husband challenged me. He said, hey, babe, what if you just try to automate 50% of her job? Because trying to bring somebody in to do 100% of her job immediately while we're in the midst of this busy season may kill you. So what if we just attempt to automate half her job? I was like, okay. So I sat down. I was working 3 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week for 3 weeks. And I automated about 85 or 90% of her job.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's like 8 months ago, roughly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I redid everything in my business. I broke it all apart. I took it back to the beginning and I said, okay, here's what we define as a product for like social. Here's what we define as a product for a website. Here's what we define as a product for all these different things that we do. It doesn't matter who we're doing it for. We have the same process for everything. So the process is there, the product is there, and then I have a brand kit for every single client that it has everything filled out that you need. So every time I create a new task, which also can be automated, it brings in all the things that need to happen to make that a successful project. And it's really cool. And then not only that, I have AI reporting that happens. I have all these different things that happen so that the time that she was spending to move things around to create tests, and that's gone. The checking in with my team now moved to a 10-minute stand up every single day. What are your blockers? What needs to happen? Okay, great. Let's keep going.
It's so valuable to have that external, and I wouldn't call your husband external, but he's apart from the business enough to be able to see, well, have you thought of this option? Those people in our lives are so invaluable, because when we're like head down working on it, it's hard to see that bigger picture alternatives, really, in your case.
Yeah. I think same as when you're trying to market your own business, you have no idea. Like, do I really do these things? Do I not? Am I talking too much? And then you get that imposter syndrome, and it doesn't make sense. And so having a different perspective that really challenges you on occasion helps, because you're going to start to, if you don't have this box to play with and instead you have everything else, what would you do?
Right.
And I think one of my biggest learnings from everything that's happened, and I didn't know this before, I had no idea, but you can design the business of your dreams and say no to everything else.
Yeah. When you're clear on your vision, then decision-making becomes easier, because you've got the ability then to look at this North Star and say, this thing that I'm entertaining, yes, no, is it going to move me in this direction or not? But if you don't know where you're
100%.
going, you have no basis to add new things to your business or the confidence to say no to something.
And that creates burnout faster than anything else.
Yeah. And so what were your revenues last year?
My revenues last year were 560.
560. That's fabulous. Well, from at one point like zero, because you created this side hustle from nothing, to $560,000 in revenues. Yeah, that's something to celebrate. But you've got a team around you now. And do you have any employees, or is it all contract work?
No, we do contract work. One of the things that's really hard for me that I go back and forth on is having an employee is a lot of additional work. And I don't know that I'm in a place where I'm ready to invest that, because not only would it not be fair if I'm not willing to invest in them, but I want to invest the time to actually be that right person for them, so that whether they stay with me for a long time or not, that I grow them to the next level.
Right.
And if I can't commit to that, I don't feel comfortable having an employee.
Okay, that makes sense. So I'd really like to understand how an agency or you could say a consultant as well, prices. So if you're looking at a job, where do you even start that process?
So I don't look at jobs. I'm not
Okay.
really interested in that. I may do a one-off website and I just need to understand what the scope is. In most cases, it'll be somewhere $2,500 to $5,000, depending on how much work this is. But in most cases, someone will come to me and say, I just need social media. And they don't. Nobody needs social media. What they actually physically need is let's revamp how you go to market. Let's revamp what you're saying about yourself. Your offer sucks. Nobody understands it. Why you're not converting. Let me work with you on what your sales script is.
Got it.
Let's then take this and how do we keep having us get video testimonials of your successful stories? How do we make sure we're putting authority in the forefront and getting you thought leadership that's getting you noticed? And that is a very different package. It's not a one-off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's the recurring. So we have what our minimum package is. We have a middle package and we have the top tier.
And what's the range there?
So it's somewhere between $2,500 to $10,000 a month.
A month. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're taking a look at how much you're doing for the client. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be X number of hours. So you would be looking at it saying, all right, for me to manage this whole piece, I want to make X number of dollars an hour, and then the contractors are going to charge this month. So therefore, that's the package. I'm just wondering your thinking behind it.
Well, one of the biggest costs that we have not only is the contractor labor, but software. Software is a huge friggin' expense, right? You don't think about it, but you have to have Zoom. You have to have the note taker. You have to have this. You have to have the project management. You have to have the website stuff. You have to have the servers. You have to have all of these things. And so when we take a look at what that looks like and we start putting that together, our goal is, I believe, 35% profit.
Okay.
So what do we need to do to be able to get there? And then I start looking at what my contractors are doing and can I optimize their hours? Are we working efficiently? How do I just implement, here's some AI something so you can get this done faster and spend more time on the strategy side and really balance that. And it isn't necessarily a number of hours that we put in each of the retainers. It's loosely based on that, but it's how much time do you get in strategy from us and putting those forward and then executing on the new strategies and matching up your goals with that.
And is there any guarantee that you give the client, or is that too difficult because there's certain things that they have to implement as well?
We don't do any guarantees. We're not kids. We actually know what we're doing and we can implement it. And what we have learned is that the people who go to do the guarantees never actually live up to what it is that they say they're going to do. And we've experienced this way too many times. And what we believe is that it also really depends on our client's performance. So for example, if you want to take the profit multiplier, the done with you version, you have to go and implement it.
Yes.
I can't make you go sell. And if I can't make you go sell, there's no point.
It's not going to work. Yeah.
And the DIY version, if you don't go implement, you're not going to get anything. So I don't want to be your mom. Not interested. I'm interested in running a business that can help you get from A to B. If you want to get on the train, get on the train.
Is there certain industries that you focus on or not necessarily?
I love consultants because there's something so exciting about a consultant because they can never enunciate the value that they bring. It's how it works, right? And if you talk to a consultant and they can talk about these things and these things, but they really don't, not all of them. My clients do really well now. But in most cases, right, the clients that we've had before and prospects that we talked to, the way that they position themselves doesn't really match the motivation of their prospects, right? It's like, hey, I do all these amazing things. And they're like, I don't care. How do we fix that? And how do we bridge the gap? And that is what we put in all of those programs.
And understanding what your clients actually want is that messaging piece. So is that done through surveys that you do with some of their followers or what's that?
No. So we start out initially, and I believe everything is a test, right? And the reason being is we could have the best marketers in the room, but until we put that in front of those people who should be buying, nobody knows, does it hit or does it not? And so since I focus on B2B, the way that we typically work is we do the positioning, we do the offers, we then start creating outreach for them. So now the outreach message is ready. what better way than to just start testing it? Start sending it. See if these are the pain points. See if this is the right way to approach. Have that conversational approach as you're going out. Change how you're doing social so that we're doing, instead of buy me, it's here's some authority, here's some thought leadership, here's some testimonial. Let's keep growing that side of the business. And if we bridge all of that together, it makes it so much more complete. So now as you're going out on LinkedIn, what they see in the message is the same thing that they're seeing you post on your profile, is the same thing as your LinkedIn newsletter. And they know you're the expert in this.
Got it. So again, there's that authority piece again.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge through this whole journey, Rachel?
The confidence that I could do this. I think there's moments in time where I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this again. Because I've put myself into a position where it's like, okay, I'm working a lot of hours. I'm doing a lot of things.
Yep.
I'm not relying on the people on my team as much as I should be. It's like, hold on, wait. This is a Rachel problem. This isn't anything else. How do we fix that? And then we go work, we fix. And I'm very clear with my team that they're here to help support me and get stuff off my plate, not keep pushing it back. And having that as a tough boundary, I don't want to do your work for you. I've hired you. You can do the work. Go figure it out. That's what your job is, and come back to me with it. And where it looks great, it's right, and it's on the right strategy.
And if you come to me with a problem, you better have a few solutions that you've thought through. And then we'll talk about why they will work or not work.
And just pushing tasks around just isn't something we're going to do here. We're going to do stuff because it's supposed to make an impact. And if it isn't going to make an impact, we're not going to do that anymore.
Is there a platform or a source that you've had the most positive experience in hiring contractors?
We use Valitam. I've used a few others, and I just came out of a really crappy relationship with a company. They not only placed the person with me, they placed him with somebody else. So I found out he was only working 3 hours a day, and I'm paying for 8.
Really?
That's where you've just got to stay on top of it. It was really hard. And I severed that relationship with them. And they said, oh, we didn't know. Of course they did. They placed him at both places. And so that's where having a partner you can trust is really important. And we use Valitam because they understand how I work and they understand what's important to me, especially when we're trying to deliver excellence and get to that next level for our clients.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you want to be able to hire the proper person in the first place, because I found there was so much time and effort and training. Oh, yeah. And on both sides, on their side too, as far as learning your systems. What's the best place for our listeners to connect with you, Rachel?
You can go to rachelminion.com and find information on both Rockstar and Moon, on me, and also the nonprofit Beyond Basic Needs.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll be sure to drop that link in the show notes.
Thank you.
What's your best tip to inspire others to start and grow their side hustle dream, as you have successfully done?
Start before you're ready. You will never be ready to do this. There is no one who's ever like, yes, I am so excited. Today is the day when I wake up. No, you're never going to be fully ready. It's always going to be half-baked. And if you wait until you're fully ready, the time has already passed. The boat has sailed, you're gone, right? And you've spent all that time preparing and you don't know, you haven't tested, you don't have product market fit or any of those things. Why not start test, especially as a side hustle? Will somebody pay me for this? If someone will pay me for it, great. Now, what if I up the price a little bit? What if I add this service to it? What if I do any of these other things and keep testing as you grow? And you're going to be so much further ahead than if you thought it was going to be perfect from the get-go. It's always a tweak, and we never know what someone's going to resonate or not with. And the key is just please, please, please try 5 other things. Throw something at the wall. It doesn't matter what it is. But the biggest turnoff that every single person in the world has right now is that when you go out, if you pitch slap somebody, they will just shut you down. They won't even bother to respond. They will mark you as junk. They will, all of those things. So How do you come across in a real authentic way? How do you bring your expertise in? How do you stand up like a human, not a robot, right? Yeah. And how do you create impact? And that, it's totally doable. You just have to test your way there. There is never going to be a time where you go out with something and it's going to be perfect the first time. And if it is, and you're getting a great response, what if you tweak 2 or 3 words? What if you could get 10% more? Even better.
Absolutely. And if it works first time out, you're probably in the 1%.
100%.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your expertise and your story and give us some insights on taking a side hustle to a full-time job, in your case being forced to, but succeeding at it. And thank you so much for being today's Side Hustle Hero.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's interesting how something that feels negative at the time can end up being exactly the push we needed. Rachel's furlough forced her to grow her agency. Maybe the lesson for the rest of us is to make the changes we want now before life forces the decision. Well, that's a wrap for today. If our chats are sparking your entrepreneurial spirit and providing valuable insights, consider showing your support by visiting sidehustlehero.com/support. That's where you can shoot me a virtual coffee. It's a real thing, and a fun way to give the show a caffeinated thumbs up. Thank you so much. In the episode description, you'll find a link to Rachel's website, as well as our full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here for them to start and grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.